we can ask it, hey, I would like for you to expand on the comps. Can you expand on the comps by including what their asking prices are? Right. So let's see if it does that, because it has to go in and pull that information from Zillow. See, look at this. So what did it do? It went into the comps and it listed the address, the asking price, and the details about the property. Right.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
so all this was done in a matter of minutes with a limited amount of information, because think about it, this is all we inputted. That is it.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Evergreen Marketing Podcast by Carrot.com. I'm your host, Brady Winder, and this is where we're teaching you how to get more leads, close more deals, so you can build a business of impact and freedom through real estate investing. I've got on here with me Mr. Cris Chico. I don't know, probably second or fourth time on the podcast, man.
I know.
It's been a while, but he's one of the pioneers of virtual wholesaling, and we've talked about that in past podcast episodes. And you can go back and listen to those if you want. But today I want to pick his brain on how he's using AI. We're going to give you guys some prompts for comps, for Facebook ads, for dispositions. We're going to go over AI and talk a little bit about virtual wholesaling too. But it's going to be a good conversation. Cris, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. I appreciate having me back on, and I love to talk about this stuff. And so I'm excited. And again, an honor to be in here with you guys one more time.
Yeah, man, it's good. And probably not the last time either. You're in this for the long game, man. How long you been investing now?
I mean, I started wholesaling back when I was around 2005. And
Okay.
then I around 2008 is when I started doing virtual wholesaling around 2006 or 7. I date myself. I said that was before Google Street View. If you can imagine a world without Google Maps and Google Street View.
I cannot.
Yes.
I actually can. It was called MapQuest for a little bit.
Yes, we used to print them out. We used to print them out and carry them all over town.
Yeah.
That was when printers were very much a necessity. And so it was 2008 that I then coined the term virtual wholesaling. So I own all the domains. I was the one that originated that term. And then back then we were doing a lot of direct mail. We at one point were mailing, because we had a service also helping investors. We were mailing 1 million plus postcards a year. And then until around 2016 is when I decided to jump into digital ads and digital marketing. And so that's what we've been focusing on. And our main thing that we do is we help real estate investors do deals nationwide with all inbound lead generation, specifically with Facebook and TikTok ads.
Nice, man. So I want to hear, before we get into the AI prompts, because the prompts are only good if people understand the context of where to use them, if they understand the business model that this works for, things like that. So tell me a little bit about like what types of leads you're getting, the motivation level, how it compares to these offline leads, and where you're getting them from. I know you said Facebook and TikTok.
Yeah. So our main thing is that we're advertising on Facebook. When we started Facebook, initially, we were targeting very tight around zip codes, and however, Facebook passed, there were some restrictions that were passed with regards to the platform, which then disabled the ability to do that. And then as we were trying to figure that out, just by accident, I ended up doing a campaign where I forgot to put the targeting, and all of a sudden I had all these leads coming in, and they were very low cost. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if we could do something with these. So then we started to, through a lot of trial and error, figure out like, hey, if I'm in Florida and I'm in Dade and Broward County where it's hyper competitive, there's a lot of other markets throughout the country that are not that congested with investors, where you still have a lot of sellers that are still interested in selling their property at a discount. And now that's what we do. We many times do deals in small towns that we've never heard about. So we're using inbound leads. So I've always been a fan of inbound leads. Even when I was doing direct mail, it was all inbound. And so, I'm a fan of inbound leads. The sellers see our ad either on Facebook or on TikTok. They click on the button, they submit their details. We ask a lot of questions like, hey, what kind of property is this? What's your motivation? How long you've been living? Who's living at the property? A bunch of questions just to make sure we get a good quality lead. And then that lead gets delivered to us and to our clients. And then we just call the sellers. And the main difference is I always say that you transition from being an annoying pest to a welcome guest, right? Because there's people out there that are doing deals with cold calling, and if you're making a killing with cold calling, then hey, I don't want you to stop doing that. One of the challenges, however, is that when you do cold calling, the sellers ask you, well, who are you? How'd you get my number? I don't know. And then when you ask them, hey, how much you want for your property? They're like, well, I don't know. You called me. Why don't you make me an offer? And so you have to kind of overcome all of this friction up front in order to just even have that opportunity to have a conversation with them. Whereas with inbound leads, they've already filled out the form. And when you call them, it's like, hey, this is Chris with National Property Buyer. You filled out a form about selling your property. And they say, yeah. I said, you got a minute? We could just chat and see if there's anything we could do to help. I'm shortcutting that, but in essence, it's a warm lead. And then also, we're able to generate lots of leads. So just give you context, typically our main targeting is, even though we're doing deals nationwide, we generally are doing deals around 15 states. And then we are then running campaigns. We're targeting all those cities, the major cities in those states. There's about 95 of them. And then 95 cities. And, generally we're getting leads at about, $20 a lead. So we're getting really good quality leads at a very low cost.
That's cheap, man.
Yeah.
That's cheap.
Which then allows us to be, the second part of the equation is being in the sifting and sorting business, not the convincing business. But the convincing business is that if all you have is one lead and that's all you have this week, then guess what? There's a lot of pressure for you to get a deal done and to figure something out to do with that lead. But if you could get 2 or 3 leads a day and if none of the leads today were great, but tomorrow, a few more will come down the pipe, then it's more of a sifting and sorting game. So instead of convincing people that, whether or not to sell their property or not, or to sell it at a discount, we're just now looking for those individuals that are willing to be reasonable. A reasonable seller that, hey, they got a situation going on, the property needs repairs, tenant situations, you name it. And then now we're able to do a deal with them. But that's pretty much the big picture of it. All inbound leads nationwide, being in the sifting and sorting business, not the convincing business, and moving away from being an annoying pest to a welcome guest.
I love that. I'm sorry, man. I'm going to steal your tagline. It's going to show up somewhere, from a pest to a guest. Yeah. I like that. I started using another one of your tips. I think I saw it in one of your YouTube videos, where you mention when you're on the phone with people, when you're making an outbound call, you'll say, hey, this is Brady from BradyBuysHouses.com, and just throw in your website out in the intro in the call. I like that a lot.
And listen, this is the first thing I tell people, because obviously, and this is not, I'm not saying this because I'm here with you, but I tell people all the time, you need a website. You need 2 things in this business, right? Because you no longer are, especially with our model, you're not walking around town with business cards anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where to buy a business card anymore. I haven't had one in God knows however.
Yeah.
Your business card is your website. And so everybody here needs a website, and everybody here needs a website that the most important thing is a good domain, that when you tell it to people, it automatically tells them what you do. If you have a domain, if you have a corporation and it's Purple Capital LLC, you don't want a website, Purple Capital LLC, because the minute you tell that to a seller, it's a tongue twister, at least for me. I'm Puerto Rican, so, that's a tongue twister for me. But, if you tell that to a seller, the next thing they're going to say is, what is that? What do you do? Versus, and it doesn't have to be a .com, but if you have a domain, helpinghomeownerstoday.io. Well, the minute you say, hey, this is Chris with helpinghomeownerstoday.io or sellyourhousefast USA.io or .net, whatever, then automatically, like, it already tells the seller, what you do. It gives them a little bit of more credibility right out the gate. And so I'm definitely a fan of having a domain that rolls off the tongue, that when you call the seller, you tell that to them, and then they're like, oh, okay, great. And you can even send them, you guys have a great website, so you send that, hey, this is Chris, and this is my domain. And then all of a sudden now you have at least some credibility walking into that conversation.
It's huge, man. I mean, the first impression is everything. I mean, you can get away with a domain or business name like Purple Capital LLC, and I see it all the time, but it's just an uphill battle.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be unique, you want to be memorable, and it needs to be easy. Your business overall, your brand needs to be easy to digest. Like
100%.
John Smith buys houses, househelpers.com, something like that.
Yeah.
But inbound leads, you could have said it better, man. I mean, like, I've said this a million times, so I'll keep it short and we'll get to the prompts. But like, if you're doing any sort of marketing, people are Googling you, they're going to your website. A social media profile is not enough, especially with inbound marketing. People are doing their research on you. And if they can't find a website, if they can't find that hub to do all their research on, you're losing deals.
100%.
You just are. Well, let's give the people what they want, and then I want to talk a little bit more about lead gen, kind of what markets you're in, things like that. But the prompts, man. So you've got an interesting doc. Maybe if you want to pull up your screen just for the people that are on YouTube, and we'll talk through it as well.
Yeah. Let me
guys,
let me
go
share
ahead, man.
my let me see, share screen.
So guys, anybody listening, whether you're listening or on YouTube, if you want this, you can get the doc that Cris has graciously put together to give away. Go follow him on Instagram and send him a direct message with GPT in it.
Yeah, just say GPT or Chat GPT. Say Chat GPT or GPT. It doesn't matter, whichever one you say. And then I'll get you the doc.
What's your Instagram handle?
It's just my name, Cris Chico.
CrisChico.
Oh, that's right. And you're gonna see my lovely bald head with glasses and a very obnoxiously blue background.
It's
you
great.
Can't miss it.
You're looking better than ever.
Yeah.
Okay, so go follow him on Instagram, send him a DM, ChatGPT, and you can get the prompt guide. But we'll talk through it so you guys can understand, because you need to understand the thought process that goes into these prompts as well, so that if you're doing your own ChatGPT prompts, you're doing it the right way and you're making the most of it. Because surprisingly, I mean, I play around a lot with ChatGPT, man. It's easy to mess up, or it's easy to get like subpar results without realizing it.
100%, 100%. And I'm on ChatGPT. I mean, by far, this is the app that I use above and beyond. I use it for a variety of different purposes. I mean, we can go down deep the rabbit hole on this. I mean, I took not just to give you an idea.
Yeah,
ChatGPT knows more about me than any other human being in the world. I have journals that are dating back from 2011 or maybe even before that, and they're all luckily for me, they were all typed. I fed them into ChatGPT, and I had it done all kinds of analysis, like, hey, what are some of the limiting beliefs that I have? What are this? What are, like, all kinds of stuff. So we can go down the rabbit hole very deep on a variety of different things. And so it's my best friend.
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one using it for like obscure niche, like psychological concepts and reflection and things like that.
100%.
It's a fine line. It's a gray area because you don't want to like go to it for specific guidance, but just another perspective and maybe, yeah, it's interesting, man. It makes me wonder, am I talking to the real Cris Chico right now, or is this an AI clone?
It could be. It could be. Let's see.
We may never know.
We never know.
Okay, so the first one, you're using it for comps. I'll pull up your screen here for people watching.
Yeah.
So here we go. Now you're live.
So
how are you using it for comps?
Yeah. So for comps, what I'm doing is, and I have one here that we could show is, one of the most important things is doing how to prompt, and the best way to learn how to prompt is just to ask ChatGPT to help you, right? So in other words, for any prompt, and by prompt meaning that you want ChatGPT to give you a particular output. And so, the best way to do that is just in you typing to ChatGPT, you would just say, hey, ChatGPT, I need help in creating a prompt. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's the reasons why, and here's the outcome that I want. And then it will give you a prompt. And then subsequently, it will the step number 2, and I have this here in the doc, you ask it to expand the prompt to be more detailed and comprehensive. So you articulate the prompt that you want. Once it gives you that prompt, then you expand it. You ask it to expand the prompt to be more detailed and comprehensive. So I'll give you an example of how this is. So initially, I went ahead and I typed this up for ChatGPT, and I explained to the ChatGPT who I was. And I'm a real estate wholesaler, and I would like to get your help on creating a prompt for me so I can quickly analyze a property and determine the value of the property. Right now, and then I went through, and the way I did this is just for everybody's sake. A lot of times, I'm not good at typing stuff like this. I don't have the patience for it. So many times, and you may or may not know how to that you could do this, but I will open up a Google Doc and I'll go to voice typing, and I'll turn on voice typing, and I'll just literally just talk about what I want.
I'm a huge fan, man. I
Yeah.
think it's Command Shift 5 on Mac is a shortcut.
Yeah, I don't
I
even
think it's what I just boom. I don't
yeah.
do a lot of manual typing.
Yeah, so you do that, and then now this is what I wrote back. What I wrote, and I wrote, obviously I'm an experienced investor, so I wrote down, a variety of different things. Like for example, I'm not going to read the entire thing, but it says, hey, when I'm looking at Google Maps, I'm looking at Zillow, and I'm also looking at Realtor.com, right, to determine what the value of the property is, right. And I even provide a formula. In other words, I may say to it, hey, I'm going to apply a formula that is typically 70% of the retail value, right? And then I even said something of the sort of, I look, and then deduct. See, I even mistyped this. Deduct from the repairs. So I tell it, here's what I'm looking for: 70% of ARV. I want you to deduct 15,000. I also would make a comment as well as saying, hey, I want a minimum amount of repair. So if I give you a repair, I want you to assume that repair. But if I don't give you a repair estimate, then default to this. So I did that, and I spoke to ChatGPT, and then this is the final prompt it gave me. So if you notice, like, this is the final prompt. It says a property analysis and prompt, right? So then what I did here, and this is kind of difficult to explain verbally because I know some of you are just listening, but what it does is that the prompt basically gives a framework upon which ChatGPT is going to come back to me with the output. It's going to give me back the property address, the estimated repairs based on what I state or a minimum amount of repairs. It's going to go into Google Maps. It's going into Zillow. Going to go into Realtor. It's going to go into Redfin. It's going to go ahead and take all of those, combine them, and give me an analysis on them. It is going to provide me with links to those. It's going to, it's going to give me its summary of the valuation on those particular ones. It's also going to calculate an offer. And if you see here, it's an offer. Like there's two formulas. Formula one is your typical 70% rule. The offer is ARV times 70% less repairs as assignment fee, 15K minimum assignment fee, and it goes through the whole calculation. And then another formula. Hey, we want to do a ARV less repairs, less a percentage of closing costs for the buyer, then a percentage profit as well. And so I'm giving them two because I want two different formulas given back to me. It gives me calculations on buyers, and it also gives me like suggested offer range, etc. And then, so for example, then this is the let me just look at here. So this is the final prompt. I'm wondering if we have an address. Look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to right here on the screen, and I'm going to share it with you. Let me just do this here. I'll go back into so I can share. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and then I'm going to share again the screen because I'm going to share with you here. This is ChatGPT. So now when I create the GPT, I'll show you what it looks like. They're all saved. So I have a bunch of GPTs. If you look at my left-hand column here, there's a bunch of these saved. So because there's things that I use all the time. So if I go here and I go to my GPTs, I can see the GPT. So one is called REI property analysis. If I click on this, you could see that it's name property analysis, and then this is the prompt. So in other words, I took the prompt that it helped me create here, this whole prompt, and then I fed it into ChatGPT. Let me see.
So you're not having to go back and reuse threads and get lost in threads. It's like, boom, there's
Exactly.
just one specific GPT for that one specific task. So
Correct.
one
Exactly.
GPT for doing comps, another one for making ads.
Exactly. And then what I'll do, let me go back here. And then what I'll do is, what I typically do is the ones that I use most frequently, I saved in my browser as a bookmark. So let's say on this example, right, I have 49, I'm going to use an old address, 4922 Van Buren Street, Buren Street, right? And I'm going to put repairs are 50,000 as an example. I say, yeah, 50,000. So this is all I'm putting into the ChatGPT. Now, when I click on here, it will then go out and then search the web and will bring up. Now, see it. Oh, you know what I did? Let me do that again. because this is in Hollywood, Florida. So let me just create a new chat here. So let me do 4922 Van Buren Street, Hollywood, Florida.
I guess there's more Van Buren Street.
Yeah,
So what
and
I
then
guess.
repairs, I'm going to put 50,000 as an example. So hit that, and then we're going to wait. It's going to go search the web, and you'll see what it does here.
For anyone listening, all he did was put in the address and the repair amount. There's no long prompt because that's already all saved inside the GPT.
So it gives me right here the property details, right? The address, the type of house, year it was built, bedrooms and bath, square footage, lot size. Then it gives me the summary of the property evaluations from Zillow, Realtor, and Redfin. It also then goes to calculate the average, the first formula, right? And then it also calculates the second formula, and it does give me an estimated offer range. 70% rule gives me this number. Aggressive offer, net buyer model gives me that number. So now I have two numbers here, and it also gives me other information: Hollywood Hills neighborhood, nearby schools. It does give me a Google Map links, etc. So then what I can do is go to sources, and then now I can go ahead and click on any of these to be able to see the particular sources as well.
That's awesome.
The one thing that, now keep in mind, the one thing that sometimes doesn't work too well, I don't know why, but the Google Street View doesn't work too well. So I end up having to copy that and do a search on Google for just the maps as well. But if you think about it from this perspective, in a matter, if you're on the phone with a seller and you just type in the address, and even if you didn't type in a specific repair amount, I put in a default of 25, so it'll just take 25,000 as the default. But right away, you get this, and imagine just being on the phone with a seller and at least being able to quickly on the fly, give them an idea of what you think you would offer on the property, right? And so this, to me, is a way to just very quickly streamline something that would take you, a certain amount of time, but also be able to do it on the fly with a seller. And then the other thing is this here is you can also ask questions. So for example, now that I have it here, is I would say, how would you rate the schools in the area near the property, right? So then you could continue to ask it questions about the property within the same search. So as you're talking with the seller, then it shows you the different schools here, et cetera. That was something that you wanted to know about. But again, it just the way we use ChatGPT, and you can see here it provided a map as well, et cetera. This one here was a network error, so it'll just redo it again. But it's just a way to shortcut it, So this takes the work that would have taken you quite a bit of time just to be able to put it together in a relatively short period of time, be able to do it on the fly with the seller on the phone.
That's huge, man. And I love how you got there too. So, going back to your original prompt, it's similar to how I use ChatGPT. I like to start like very simple and kind of lazy, almost like just really simple prompt, but you got to give it the context, like at least some context and the goal. So you said, hey, I'm a real estate investor.
Right.
A lot of people will miss that. They might just put in a prompt like, okay, give me a prompt to help me comp properties. And it doesn't have enough context. It doesn't know the end goal, and then the voice typing thing. I love the voice type because it just kind of unlocks my brain. I'm way more creative and I give better context if I can just talk and think out loud as if I'm brain dumping to a person across the table from me, as opposed to staring into a screen going, what information do I need to give it? I think that's huge.
Well, here's just a small side trick is what I have is, let's say I type this. And now the way this is written, if you were going to send this as an email to someone, then you wouldn't send it this way, right? But why? Because it's very much all over the place, right? But the same way, like for example, I have a Chat GPT called Rewrite, right? And so, because you could use this in conjunction with what we're teaching here. So if I go to my GPTs, what I have is I created one and I called it Rewrite. Let me just load the other ones that I have here. As you can see, I have quite a bit of them. So the way that this is just, if you read this, it says, please correct the grammar, spelling, and sentence structure for this text. If needed, you can reorganize the text. The final output should be in paragraph form, separated into paragraphs based on topics. Each paragraph should be one subject or topic. Do not add divider lines. So why do I have that? Because then what I can do is I can go ahead and voice type something on Google, on a Google Doc, just like that. And I can take that same text, and I'm going to do it now and bring it into that screen so you can see it. and I just right away just type it into that chat GPT. And then what it will do is it will just restructure the entire text so that if I did want to send this someone, then imagine you speaking this is about a minute's worth of work. You put it in chat GPT, it reorganizes it so that it's perfectly readable and or understandable by someone. And you just copy and paste that into an email or wherever you want it to, and it's done. As opposed to if you really needed to sit down and articulate this whole process, you'd have to type it out. It would take you like 15, 20 minutes to
Oh
give it to
yeah, all
somebody.
that editing and formatting
Right.
just to make sure it looks legitimate.
Eh,
I could see this potentially being useful for dispos, for maybe positioning properties that you're trying to get rid of. If you maybe do like a 2-minute video on property, just explaining it, talking it through, and then take the transcripts from that video and have it
Yes.
turned into a written thing for an email, like to your email
Well,
list.
well, okay. Well, let's do this. Let's say, for example, because I have another prompt on creating a property flyer, right? So let's say that I'm gonna just show you here because that
Mhm.
we're gonna piggyback on that what you just said because that's exactly here what we're gonna do. So let's say that now that same property, we have now that property under contract, and we want to create a description for it. You can voice type it or write it. So I'm gonna just write it so that way we're going to include a very little bit of information and you'll see how it works here. So let's say we're going to go back to this one here. So I have another chat GPT. I'll have to pull it up here in my GPTs here that is called a property flyer. So let's say here, uh, there it goes. This is, I call it REI Investor Lift Property Flyer. So then now, let me just show you what this looks like here. Let me go back and I'm going to show you the, just so you can see what it entails. So this is what it looks like here. Actually, I would like for you to create a flyer for a property that I'm selling as a real estate wholesaler. You have the following guidelines. I tell it right in the voice of Cris Chico, write persuasively as if you were Gary Halbert. Use emojis when possible. Keep in mind, we're trying to entice someone to consider this property for their rental portfolio or potentially a fix and flip opportunity. Please structure the property flyer in the same order that is presented here. Do not separate by headings by line. Just simply have headings in H1 text. Then the headline. At the top, you have a compelling headline that speaks to the most important aspect of the deal and that makes it most desirable. And I tell it the format. I want the city, state, and zip. I give it an example. I tell it, give me the address of the property with a link to Google Maps. I also say, hey, give me the where I'm going to put the contact information. Description. I ask it, I would like to include bedroom and bath information. I would also like to highlight attractive nearby features like schools, where the property is located. If it's a small city, target the largest city nearby as a distance. So I give it a lot of parameters, and this here is in that doc. I go through property evaluation, etc. So let's say in that property that we're talking about here, I'm going to go ahead and show you. So let's say that particular property was in let's say it was 49. I just type in the address 4922 Van Buren Street, right?
Mhm.
And then Hollywood, Florida.
And this is for people listening. Chris is typing this into his property flyer GPT. So he does, again, he doesn't have to do the whole
Yeah.
prompt from scratch.
What I'm going to do is let's say what you guys would do, and I'm doing this in a different window just so I don't have to switch out. What you would normally do if you're trying to sell a deal is you would pull up some properties that you thought were comparable to the subject property in an effort to give the investor some proof of whatever your valuation is, right? So what I'm
Mhm.
going to do is I'm just going to very quickly grab just a few addresses just so I can have them and I can put those into Chat GPT. So this is under the assumption that you have a property for sale and that you have a few addresses that you've identified as being good comps for that particular property, right? And so let me just pull those up here. Give me 1 second. So I have here. I'm going to go into Chat GPT and I'm going to type in the word comps, right? Comp one. Comp one. I just do the URL, right? comp 1, and then I'm going to put here comp 2. Yeah, I'm deliberately not putting in a bunch of information just so you can see what it works like in the raw. So those are, I put in the comps, right? So I say, hey, Van Buren Street, right? I'm going to put in here asking price. Let's say that I pick this up for 500 and I'm going to be asking 575, right? 575,000, right? Great. 4-3 needs, you know, I'm going to say needs 50K, 50,000 of work, uh, hot area, great neighborhood, right? So this is all I wrote, right? I wrote the address, asking price, what it was, needs, needs 50K of work, hot area, great neighborhood, and I included 3 comps. That's all I did. So now I'm going to hit the button for ChatGPT to do its thing. So look what it does, right? It gives me the headline, Hollywood, Florida, single family home, hot deal in a red hot market. Now it gives me the address, the contact information, which you would put in there, property description, hot deal in Hollywood, Florida. This spacious 4-bedroom, 3-bath home is sitting on one of the most desirable neighborhoods in the area. With plenty of space and a solid structure, this property is perfect for a fix and flip or buy and hold rental. Needs about 50K worth of work, but the upside is huge. I didn't say that. Do you notice that? It said this. I didn't say this in my typing. This area is on fire with demand. I didn't type that. It did that. And renovated properties are selling fast. I didn't say any of that. Location, location, location. Hollywood, Florida is a booming market, just minutes from the beach, shopping, and top-rated schools. The neighborhood is known for its quiet streets, good community, and high property values. We never typed that in, right? But yet, like, think about it. Like, if you had to figure that out, would you even figure that out to type that in, to think?
You probably wouldn't get that creative just for the sake of time. Yeah.
Quick access to major highways, downtown Hollywood, Hard Rock Casino and Entertainment, A+ schools. Then it gives you the asking price. Then, hey, gives you the renovations. Then it lists the property comps that we had listed here, right? And then photos coming soon if we had a photo. And then now from here, you can say anything else, right? Let's say I said, hey, can you share more info on the flyer about Hollywood Beach and Hard Rock? I think that is important. And then now it's going to redraft the whole doc again, but adding those things in, right? And then, so you can have, you read through this. I always find that there's always a couple comments here or there that I'll make in an effort to just spruce it up or make it better. But here, look what it said. Imagine living and investing just a short drive from Hollywood Beach, one of South Florida's most famous and beautiful beaches. With a scenic boardwalk, oceanfront dining, and laid-back vibe, this area attracts tourists and locals year-round. And look, it even talks about the Hard Rock Casino, right? And so, all this, if you would have sat down and then, let's say, for example, one last thing, I could say, we could expand on this, but we can ask it, hey, I would like for you to expand on the comps, because the comps really show that, so there's ways that you can do that, right? So let's say if I did this here, for example, one last thing, I said, hey, can you expand on the comps by including what their asking prices are, right? So let's see if it does that, because it has to go in and pull that information from Zillow. And once you're done with this, all you're going to do is copy and paste it into a Google Doc, or you can simply copy and paste it into a Gmail, an email to someone. See, look at this. So what did it do? It went into the comps and it listed the address, the asking price, and the details about the property, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So all this was done in a matter of minutes with a limited amount of information, because think about it, this is all we inputted. That is it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. Yeah, one thing I could think of, I was just playing around in Carrot CRM yesterday, and it's kind of cool. Is we give you like a map view with just all the little pins for the comps around the property, and you could just take those, just go into Carrot CRM, grab all the different comps, boom, 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 throw them into ChatGPT. could even throw in like the mortgage balance from the Carrot CRM, things like that. And yeah, that's awesome. Super easy, man.
So the other things is, and we hadn't discussed this, but sometimes, if you have let's say that you have a property owner that is thinking about canceling the contract. Let me see if my microphone works here. If I do voice typing, right? Testing 1 2 3. Yeah, that will work. I'm a real estate wholesaler, and I have a contract on the property in which now the property owner says that they don't want to sell the property to me. They want to sell to someone else. And so what I would like to do is I would like to send them an email letting them know that they have a contractual relationship with me and that they really can't go out and sell the property to someone else. And I'm disappointed because I felt that we had developed great rapport and that we really are the best solution for them. And I would like for you to write a email to them, encouraging them to continue to go with the transaction. I want to sprinkle in the fact that there are some legal repercussions for them if they were to try and cancel the contract, but I don't want to be too heavy handed with that initial email. So, can you help me craft an email that would be that would be firm, but still nudging them and encouraging them that they really did make the best decision for them to sell the property. So that's all I wrote. This is typically what I do. So then I will go to ChatGPT, and then I will go in, and on this one, I'll just use regular ChatGPT. I'll open it up. I'll type that in, and then now I'll wait. And so it gives me the email. So look at
It's
that.
awesome.
So, think about it. How long would it take you to sit down and think about crafting that email, right? And,
Hmm.
and go and play with the words and making sure that everything is right and everything else. You spend literally, I guarantee you spend like 15, 20 minutes on this. Versus here, I just simply I verbalized what I needed, and it wrote this. And it wrote here, here's what it wrote for everybody that is listening. Subject line, moving forward without agreement. And it says, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out because I was surprised to hear that you're now considering selling the property to someone else. I truly enjoyed our conversations and felt we had a strong understanding that our agreement was the best solution for your situation. As you know, we have a signed contract in place, which means that we both have obligations to uphold. I mean, that's great because it's telling them, hey, we both have obligations to uphold. While I understand that new opportunities may come up, I want to gently remind you that this agreement legally binds us both, and attempting to sell to another party could lead to complications that neither of us want to deal with. I couldn't, even if I spent 20 minutes on this, I don't think I would have been able to write something this good, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it finishes off. That said, I believe that moving forward with our transaction is the best and smoothest path for you. And I've already taken steps towards closing. So it goes through the whole thing. But this is the example of taking something that would have taken you 20 minutes to do. And now literally in a span of less than 60 seconds, we have the email ready to go, sending out to the seller better than we could have done it ourselves.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Yeah. Saving you hour. I mean, you multiply that times 5 times, 10 times a week. That's hours.
Yes.
Um, okay, so we talked about how you're using it for comps, how you're using it for Dispo. I want to touch on how you're using it for lead gen before we wrap up the AI prompt part of the conversation. How are you using this for Facebook ads? Maybe give people a little context. So what you do in your business. So you run Facebook ads for people too. You teach them how to run them.
Yeah, we do a variety of different things. We help real estate investors who want inbound leads, right? So they want leads coming in from online marketing campaigns such as Facebook and TikTok. And so we help them a couple different ways. Some investors say, I don't want to learn anything about anything other than just send me the leads, Chico, and help me close them. We do that. Some investors come to us and say, we would love to learn how to run ads because now we want to become an expert at that. Then we also help them as well. So bottom line is whatever way you want help with, we can accommodate you. And then we just help you get inbound motivated seller leads. And so one of the things we do, and I have this in the doc for you guys to download is we use it to create our advertisement. So one of the things that so I created a Chat GPT. Now this Chat GPT is a little different because it is providing them with a document that is an avatar document. So I created an avatar document which I can give to you guys, and this is a multi 12-page document that describes the everything that ChatGPT would need to know about our motivated sellers. The avatar, What's our target market? What's their biggest pain point? What's our unique solution to their pain point? How does our solution work? What credibility or research supports the effectiveness of our solution? What does the seller want to feel after solving their problem? So it goes through everything here, and we feed that into ChatGPT. So it has a foundation, right? And so then, therefore, now that it has that foundation, it's fairly easy then for us to be able to then ask it for to write stuff for us. So, for example, I can say, "Can you write a uh, Facebook ads for my real estate wholesaling business?" Right. So if I write that, and then it'll give me, because what it's doing is it's drawing upon, right, the document that it has available to it, so that it's congruent. It's speaking to the avatar itself. So you notice it's writing up the ads, right? And then it gives me a couple ads, right? This is the headline. This is the primary text of the Facebook ad. So as you can see, it's giving me a variety of different ads. So again, shortcutting the entire process of you having to create these ads.
This is huge. I'll pause real quick in this and I'll toss it back to you. If you're a new investor and you don't deeply understand the pain points of a motivated seller, or forget that, any business you're in, if you don't deeply understand the pain points of your customers, of your prospects, and what you're actually trying to solve, start there and figure that out before you start doing any more marketing, any work on your website, or any more ads. Because Chris, without you having done this research, your prompts, your ads would be useless.
Yeah, 100%. It just it makes it easier. It fine tunes our output to make sure that we're getting the best output that we can possible. The same thing, we could use this to create some Google search ads. I'd say, hey, can you create some Google search ads? So it'll go in, and guess what? It'll create some headlines. As you know, Google Ads requires a headline in the description, so it'll write everything out. You see that? The other thing it can do, let's say, for example, I could say, I have a seller that I'm trying to reach. I drove by the house, and I want to send them a letter so they can call me about me buying their house. Can you write me a personal letter to them? Right. So let's say that you drove by a house and you're like, hey, I want to see if I can get a hold of those people. So here we go. That's the letter there. Now I'm going to show you a interesting thing that you can do with this. So here again, it's writing the letter. I recently drove by your property at whatever the address is, and I wanted to personally reach out because I'm very interested in buying it. I understand that selling a home could be stressful. So there's a particular tone, right? So you can play around with this a little bit. So let's say, for example, this is it. I can say, can you make it more personal and conversational, right? If you don't like that, you just type that in. It's going to redraft the letter for you and give you another one, right? Let's see what this one comes back with. I hope this letter doesn't come out of the blue, but I was in the neighborhood, noticed your house. So again, it caught my eye, and I wanted to personally reach out because I love the opportunity to buy it. And so again, this is another format, right? A neat thing you can do is you can say, can you write me one with humor and a little sarcasm, right? Let's see what happens.
It's funny. Yes. ChatGPT is interesting with humor. Sometimes it's dead on, and sometimes it's like, oh, it's clear you're a robot.
Yeah. All right. I cut to the chase. I drove by your property, and I have to ask, any chance you would be open to selling? I love to make you a straightforward, no nonsense cash offer, no games. So again, you can play around with it, but think of it this way: instead of you having to sit down and thinking of this, you can go and have it craft a few letters. You pick and choose which one you want. You could even combine a combination of both, etc. And there you have it.
That's perfect, man.
The other thing that I was going to suggest is one last thing, which I think would be helpful to you, to you guys, is I have one actually on objection handling, where you can say the seller says, let's say this design that the seller says an objection. I'm going to sell to somebody else. All right. So I say someone offered me a higher price. So what's the objection for that? So there's a knowledge base behind this. So, and it's beyond it's written in the framework. Acknowledge and validate. hey, I completely understand, and that you want to get the best deal possible. And if someone's offering you more, that definitely always sounds tempting. And if I were in your shoes, I'd definitely be looking at all my options. And then it reframes. One thing I always tell the sellers, that not all offers are created equal. So, imagine being on the phone with a seller and they hit you with something and you're not really sure. You just type that in, you pause a second, and now next thing you know, you have the entire script there laid out for you to respond to them. So these are
Mm-hmm.
like, there's so many things I do with this, but it's like, that's like the power of it. It's like there's so many different, and I think that that's the main ones that I wanted to cover with you, that we
That's
covered here
huge, man.
today. Um,
Something, I don't know if you've tried this, but something it gives me the idea for is for Facebook ads, maybe going to other competitors in your market, other investors in your market, and you can go into the Meta Facebook ads library, find those competitors or just anyone really, and screenshot their ads, throw them into Chat GPT and say, how, along with my ads that you've helped me create,
yeah,
how can you make them stand out from my competitors, make them more unique from what other people are saying in my market?
100%, 100%. And you could say, hey, could you make it more hard hitting? Could you give me? So typically, if
Mm-hmm.
we're going to create ads on Facebook, we typically one that is straightforward. Then we say, hey, give me one with more humor. And you give me one in a casual conversational tone. So then we mix it up,
Mm-hmm.
and so we have a variety of different ads that we're asking it to give us.
This is gold, man. Well, I appreciate you going over this. This is good stuff. Again, anybody listening, watching, if you missed it earlier, send Chris a DM on Instagram, Chat GPT, or just GPT in the DM, and he'll give you this guide here. And his Instagram handle is Cris Chico, CrisChico. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. I get a kick. I love this stuff because it helps me in my daily, every single day. I'm always on ChatGPT all the
It's
time.
so fun.
Yeah,
It's fun, man. Yeah, it's crazy. It's become more of a standard now.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're not using it, you're slowly getting left behind without realizing it. Not in every industry, but a lot. Anyways, I got a few more questions I want to pick your brain on before we wrap up, man.
Mhm.
So you're doing mostly Facebook and TikTok lead gen. Talk to me about budget. What's a lot of people want to know, like, okay, Chris, how much money do I need to spend to get a deal in my market?
Yeah.
Maybe get some context for different markets, different platforms.
Well, the budget is okay. So it's a great question. So this is the advice that I give to people. Number one, the first question is, have you ever done a deal before, or are you
Mhm.
completely green? If you are completely green, then you need practice. You need lots of leads. You can't be handling $300 leads. Not that we would pay $300 for a lead, but you can't be handling $300 leads. It's like as if my daughter is learning how to drive and I'm going to give her a Formula One race car to learn how to drive. That would be bad. So
Mhm.
if you told me, Chico, I am brand new to business, wet behind the ears, I just learned about wholesaling, then what we're going to do is we're going to put you on a nationwide campaign that's going to be $20 a day. You're going to get we do deals from nationwide campaigns all the time. So it's not like you're going to get like bad leads. You are going to get leads that are going to be in more fringe areas that we can't do anything with, but they're going to be cheap leads. They're going to be leads that are $15 a lead. And that's what you need. You need to talk to as many humans as possible, because if on day one you start and on day 30 you have spoken with 30 to 40 property owners, you have made 40 offers, and you've gone through that process, you are going to be infinitely more capable at the end of 30 days than you were on day one, right? So now, as you get more experience, as your experience and also as your budget increases, then now we can then further narrow down that area. So we can then, instead of target the entire country, we can target the top 12 or 15 states. But what we do is we target, actually, our best targeting is where we take in the top 12 or 15 states that we like to do business in, and we then take the top 95 cities, and then we're running ads on those 95 cities. And so the cost per lead varies. You could have four different ad accounts, and they all can have various ranges of cost per lead. But the way we do the ads in the campaigns, typically we're really about $20 a lead, plus or minus, by doing that. Maybe at the most 25, but typically we're at, let's say, $20 to $25 per lead for a lead in a fairly populated area. And then now what matters is the budget. And people ask me all the time is, how quickly can I get a deal? How soon can I get a deal using Facebook ads? And it's never a time thing, it's a lead thing. How many leads does it take in order to get a deal done? And now it also depends on you, because I tell this all the time as a joke, but I really do mean it. It's like, if you talk like you got a sock in your mouth, you're going to need a lot more leads to go through, right? Because, sometimes I
Yeah.
talk to people and I'm like, look, you got to probably drink 4 cups of coffee if you want to have a chance of doing some deals here, because you sound like you have debt, right? So you got
Yeah.
to sound good on the phone. And so that also has a factor in it, right? Your ability to properly analyze deals has a factor on that, because you could misdiagnose a deal and think that it wasn't a deal, but in fact, I could look at the same property and say, "Oh no, that's a deal all day long, and here's the reasons why." So generally, our range in terms of how many leads does it take to get a deal, we have clients that are doing it 1 out of every 20 leads, they're able to get a deal, and then we have some clients that are 1 out of every 50 or 60. The ones that are 50 to 60 are the people that are brand new in the business, very low budget, and they got to do nationwide because they need the repetition. So they're going to have to go through a lot more leads. But as you get more experience, and as you then get, for those of you that are experienced, but as you gather more experience, then you have the confidence to not only increase your budget, but now you can narrow the area down. And ideally, you'd want to get into that 1 out of every 25 or 30 leads that
Mhm.
you speak with that will turn into a deal. And so those are kind of the numbers and how I describe to people, what the ranges are, both within the budget and the number of leads you need in order to get a deal done.
That's super helpful, especially, yeah, I appreciate you giving that context for, starting out versus how many, have you been in this for a while? Because it,
Right.
it totally changes, your
Yeah.
budget totally depends, and your targeting, it changes based on how much experience you have. Yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah.
Um, so you said you're doing business in what, 15, 25 markets or states?
Yes.
Well, I'm curious, what markets are working really well for you and anywhere you're staying away from?
Yeah. I mean, the markets that we do business in, it would be like Alabama, California, but not all of California, only like the east side, like, Fresno, Sacramento, Stockton,
Hmm.
not the east, like we're not doing anything in Los Angeles or, San Diego, etc. Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Texas. Those are our primary states. The In terms of markets that you could target, but we just don't happen to target. Illinois is one. New Jersey, New York. It's kind of a love and hate relationship with New York. We just did a deal in New York, but they're a real pain in the butt to deal with, attorneys and everything else. We actually have another deal right now that we have that we're selling in Niagara Falls. So given the choice, we'd rather take the easy road and not do deals in New York, but occasionally we get them and we'll do them.
I
Uh,
just had Greg Helbeck on the podcast, investor with
yes,
Carrot for a long time. Yeah, he invests in New York. He used to live in New York and lives in Washington now, so he does deals in both states. And we were talking about that, how New York is just up.
yeah,
There's so much red tape, so it takes so long to get a deal done.
yeah. The states that we don't, like in North Carolina, we don't not do anything in Asheville and those areas because they were hard hit with those floods recently. South Carolina, they just enacted a law on wholesaling, which everybody's still trying to figure out what they want to do with that.
Hmm.
So we're staying away from that for the time being. Oregon, also as well, just due to the licensing laws, and then the other
Yeah.
states that
Have you
just
done any deals? Because I'm in Oregon. For people that didn't know, have you done any deals since that passed?
the thing is, we have, even when we were targeting the nation, we never did any deals in Oregon. So the fact that
Interesting.
it became problematic, it was like of no significance to us because we never did deals there. Because
Yeah.
most of the time we stayed toward the central part of the U.S. and east,
Yeah.
and rarely anything on the west. So
Hmm.
we had never done it. I can't think of the last time I did a deal in Oregon, and I'm talking about years. It must be years.
Hmm.
And then the other states is Alaska, Hawaii, Delaware, Rhode Island, Iowa. Iowa has some other laws regarding wholesaling. So we know, if you think about it, like with all that, we have 95 cities we can target. That's more than enough. We have more than enough ground
Oh
to
yeah.
cover. Um, and then there's some other states that we just don't do because of sparse population, like Montana. Like if you're going to target Montana, you really got to target like the main cities such as Billings, et cetera. Wyoming, there's only certain areas that are really populated. So it's just more of a pick and choose. At the end of the day, we want to. An old mentor of mine said that if you're a ninja, Do you want to go fight other ninjas, or do you want to go fight the kids in first grade? I would go fight the kids in first grade. Okay. So I want the easy, you know. When you
Yeah.
go to Bank of America, they never ask you how hard you work for your money. They just care you have some.
That's funny, man. I want to fight the kid in first grade. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Great. YouTube's going to hear this thing. We're talking about violence in our content. Thanks, Chris. That's funny. I got one or two more questions and then we'll wrap it up just for the sake of time, but I think this is really interesting. Does your buy box change doing virtual wholesaling versus if you were just tied to like one market locally? Or is it kind of the same types of properties anyways?
Yeah, I mean, predominantly we analyze everything through Zillow, first of
Mhm.
all. So everything is done through Zillow. We can go into a market and within 10 minutes, just from Zillow, know and understand the entire dynamics of that market. You know,
Mm.
the example is so that's number one. And I if you want, I can show you something here on Zillow that would be probably useful for your people in the sense of like we let me go back to your question. The buy box is generally the same, meaning we have our best results from an average of about $130,000 to, 350 to 400 price point. The
Mhm.
asterisk to that, it depends on the area. A $400,000 house in Miami is different than the $400,000 house in Ohio, so that has to be adjusted,
Mhm.
per market. But in general, the buy box typically we do best with properties that are above 1,000 square feet. So if you have a house that's like a little frame house that's 564 square feet, a 2-1, those are tough. If you have a property that has acreage, hey, I'm a guy selling this house for 600K, 500K, and it has like 20 acres. That's a fringe property. So we want commoditized housing. We want houses that we can easily find comps for, and that we can easily find investors. Because if you have a house that's a 4,000 square foot house with 20 acres, I mean, what's somebody going to do with that? An investor, like,
Mhm.
you're finding a needle in a haystack for an investor. We want to be able to put a property in the contract that, we could, with our eyes closed, bump into investors, right? Because it's a very commoditized product based on the area that it's located, so that it's contextual to the area. And that's what we
Yeah,
want. We want cookie cutter houses and populated places. That's the best way I can put it.
that
Cookie
makes
cutter
sense, man.
houses and populated places.
Man, you got all the little the clever one-liners. I like that. Let's wrap it up this way. And when we started this podcast, so you said something at the beginning of our conversation that stood out to me. You sift and sort. You spend your time sifting and sorting instead of convincing. Practically, what does that look like? You running comps, you going through a CRM. How are you sifting and sorting and deciding who you're going to reach out to? Like if you get 100 Facebook leads in front of you and you're deciding who do I call, what's that look like?
Well, I mean, we are number one, um, geography. So we want to make sure that we're dealing with properties that are, if I have 50 leads in front of me and I'm trying to figure out how many of those, which ones are those I'm gonna hyper target on. So number one is geography, making sure that it is in a populated area. Number one. Number two is they do put their address, they do put their asking price on the form, so we can kind of gauge. Although we do not want to judge a lead just by their asking price, because they're always
Mhm.
guarded when they put their asking price. What we're looking for is a reasonable seller. What is a reasonable seller? Okay, a reasonable seller is one where our best deals are where you look on Zillow and Zillow says worth 225, and then the seller says, "Oh, I'll take 190." Now we know that if it's worth 225, 190 isn't going to cut it. We need a deeper discount. But the fact that they're already below Zillow,
It's
right?
reasonable.
That's
Yeah.
reasonable. Number two is that we also ask for other information, like what's their situation, divorce, probate, tire landlord, etc. Our best deals come from probate properties, so we get a lot of those, and so we're looking for a situation with regards to that property. And also, many times when you look at a property on Google Maps, if you've been doing this business for a while, you can quickly figure out, oh, that's my typical real estate wholesaler type of house that I can make
Mhm.
money on, and then you could tell the ones that are not. It could be that, hey, in relative to that area, if it's in Texas, Dallas, Texas, then I'm looking for the houses in the regular neighborhoods that look a little bit run down. If I see a lead that came in and they're asking full retail value and it's like a brand new house in a really nice subdivision, well, that's going to be, a little bit lower on the priority list. Why? Because the chances of them having a situation that causes them to want to sell their property for less than market value is likely not going to be there, right? Because at the end of the day, I always tell this to people is that, we're not that we're saying this, but we never steal someone's equity. What people are doing is they're trading their equity for something else. I once had a truck that I was selling, and the truck needed work. And in order for me to sell that truck, if I wanted to put it on Craigslist and get full retail value for that truck, I had to change the tires. I had to take care of the paint that had some nicks in it. And I had to do a bunch of stuff. I didn't want to do that. So I took it to the dealer and they paid me what they paid me. And I knew that they were going to go and make money from it somewhere else, but I didn't care because at the end of the day, I wanted the convenience. I needed to get done fast and I wanted to get it done, in the easiest way possible. And that's what we're looking for. And so there's things that we ask, so it's a combination of things. It's a combination of the questions we ask, what their initial asking price is, where are they geographically located in that area relative to, is it in the main part of the city? Is it in the middle of nowhere? And then from that list, we'll come up, we'll have that smaller list of prospects that we will hyper target on to try and get a hold of them, try to talk to them. And then the other ones will trail behind them. Because at the end of the day, like if you had 35 leads and all you did, you pay with us, you pay like $20 a lead. Let's say, for example, you had 50 leads. And out of those 50 leads, if all you did was make one of those work, you would make a ton of money. Because that means 20 leads at 50 leads at $20, that means you spend $1,000. Our average assignment fee is $15,000. That means that if you spend $1,000 to make 15, you would do that all day long. So you could literally do
all day, man.
you could just do one deal and throw the rest of the leads away and then just wait for more. Because that's the beauty of this thing is that the leads keep on coming. And so therefore, that you're always going to have a certain number of leads coming. So it is a mechanical aspect of it, but there's also the mindset to know that what you're doing is you're waiting for the right opportunity. You're not trying to make an opportunity. You're just waiting for the right opportunity to show up. But when it does, you hyper focus on that. You do what's required. You make money from it, and you continue to wait for the other ones to come down the pipe.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. I appreciate you sharing that. Dude, that's all I got for you. This has been jam-packed. I appreciate you not holding anything back behind the paywall and just giving so much value. So thank you, man.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Any last words of encouragement for people? Anything you want them to know?
You know what? I think that right now, I think that these next couple years are going to be amazing for us and our business and the economy. I can see it. I can see even as I talk to you, I'm getting goosebumps because we're seeing the buyers be more aggressive with buying and want to get involved with real estate. The rehabbers and the flippers, they're looking for more deals. And so I think for anybody sitting on the sidelines, I think that I think this is a great opportunity. And the best thing is I could tell you is that real estate, I do believe is a great opportunity overall because it's never going to go away. You could do like some people teach like drop shipping, but 2 years later, nobody's doing that. Why? Because it's out of flavor or things have changed. There's always people that are going to have problems with the property. And there's always people that are going to need to solve that problem through another means outside a real estate agent. That's where we come in. And so I would just encourage everybody to just do the hard work. Do the hard work. Get help. And mentoring doesn't have to be for me; it could be from anybody. But I think there's a great opportunity coming up in the next couple of years, and I would love everybody to. It's. I don't want to be rich and lonely. So if all you guys make money, then we could all hang out together, have a great time, especially in Miami.
And Miami, man, where it's 75 and sunny, a little bit warmer than Oregon.
Yes.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks again for sharing. Anybody listening, watching, go check out Chris's YouTube channel. Chris, you put out a lot of good content. I think it's youtube.com/flipanywhere.
Yep, Flip Anywhere. Correct? Or you could just Google my name and go to YouTube, type in my name, and then Google helps you find me. YouTube helps you find me, but it is the handle is Flip Anywhere. And we do a lot of training there on online lead generation, virtual wholesaling, Facebook ads, TikTok ads, etc.
Yeah, that's the power of building brand online, man. It's so easy to find you. So go watch Chris' YouTube channel. If you guys need a website, if you're not a Carrot member yet, check out Carrot. Check a demo out. Go to carrot.com. If you need a CRM to organize your leads and sift and sort, like Chris is talking about, get Carrot CRM. We just released it in the last few months. Have a totally free CRM for you. Go check it out. But everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Boom. And